Moses spent 40 days with God at Sinai. When the Israelites saw that Moses delayed from coming down the mountain, they gathered together to Aaron and said to him,
"Come, make us gods that shall go before us."
Aaron thought that they, if he asked them for valuable things, they would give up.
Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me.
Aaron was wrong. They all broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to him, and Aaron received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. When the Israelites saw the golden calf, they celebrated.
"This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt."
Aaron built an altar before the golden calf, and on the next day the people rose early to offer burnt offerings and peace offerings after they sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Then the Lord said to Moses to get down from the mountain and told him what he was about to do.
"I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation."
Then Moses tried to appease God's anger and pleaded for the people.
Turn from your fierce wrath and relent from this harm to your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel.
So the Lord turned from his fierce wrath. Sabbath School Like presents the series Exodus, Journey to the Promised Land, Lesson 11, Apostasy and Intercession. There is a word that isn't pleasant at all, but is very important to understand this week's lesson. Apostasy. What is apostasy? It is the public and willful abandonment or renunciation of the faith once professed. Apostasy isn't just any sin. A child of God might fail at times, feel sorrow for the sin, ask the God of heaven for forgiveness, and move on in faith by Christ's grace. This isn't apostatize. It's backsliding and rising again. But apostatize is to openly rebel against what you once promised to believe and obey. That's what Israel did. Although a few of them remained faithful to the covenant, most openly and willfully worshipped a golden calf when 40 days earlier they had promised to only worship and serve the Lord exclusively. Reading this passage from the Bible isn't pleasant at all, but it's there to teach us great lessons. So this week's question is, what can we learn from the awful apostasy and Moses' great intercession at Sinai? First, apostasy is a self-wound. There is a curious video that has gone viral on social media. A baby cries bitterly because someone is pulling his hair, and that someone is himself.
I saw it. It's so sad and a little funny.
The meme says that you can't even trust yourself anymore.
Well, it is interesting to note that when Moses told Moses to go down the mountain because the people were apostatizing, it sounded as if the people were hurting themselves.
"Go, get down. For your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves."
Do you notice? Exodus 32:7 doesn't say that they corrupted them. It says they corrupted the Melvis. It's like they were injuring themselves, as if it was a self-wound. Then in verse 8, he gives the reason. They have turned aside quickly out of the way, which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt." This is apostasy, and what is happening there is God saying that whoever apostatizes is hurting himself. But how did they get to that point? That's the most delicate part. They didn't take a vote at a church board meeting to apostatize. They simply gave way to idolatry, and when the golden calf, the object of their idolatry, was ready, Aaron did something interesting. He built an altar as if for the Lord and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." Do you notice how subtle the deception was? They were worshiping God with their lips and offending Him with their deeds. And this isn't just a thing of the past. An idol is anything that captivates our imagination, affection, time, and mind more than God, and can even enslave our thinking. Pride, selfishness, money, power, sex, food, television, narcotics, video games, music, shopping, pornography, work, family, sports, politics, titles, and so on. The list of possible idols is endless. Even good things can take God's first place. That's the down payment for an apostasy under the guise of faithfulness, of a self-injury worse than pulling our own hair. Second, God's wrath is just. In Exodus 30:10, God tells Moses to let his wrath burn hot, consume the people, and he will make Moses into a great nation. Did God really mean it? Listen carefully. If the word apostasy is very unpleasant, the phrase God's wrath is even more unpleasant. God is love. Yes, it is biblical and real, but God's wrath is biblical and real as well. The thing is that God's wrath is different from ours. Have you seen buildings being demolished in a controlled manner by the engineers?
Yes, it's quite a spectacle.
And have you seen a building collapsing because of a natural disaster or an accident?
Yes, it's quite a tragedy.
Well, God's wrath is like a controlled explosion. The case is carefully studied, and when the best option for everyone's welfare is to demolish the explosives are set up, calculating the least amount of damage possible, and the button is activated at the right moment. It's a righteous demolition. Our wrath, on the contrary, is like an earthquake that occurs with no warning and tears down the building, destroying everything inside it. God does not burst out in anger. The passage even seems to ask Moses if he agrees to activate the button that will let God burn his wrath hot. The New King James Version says, "Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them." Do you notice? Even if it is true that God is testing Moses' character in this passage, this doesn't mean that God wasn't talking seriously. Israel's apostasy had begun the countdown to activate the button that would burn God's righteous wrath hot. Thank heaven Moses was about to stop that countdown. And third, intercession is the door to forgiveness. We have talked so far about two unpleasant things, apostasy and God's wrath. But the story of the golden calf produces one of the most wonderful expressions, intercession. What is intercession?
Just what Moses did for the people.
Asking God to do, not destroy them.
Exactly, but don't be bewildered. Interceding is not condescending. Moses went down and showed the people God's wrath. At the foot of Sinai, he broke the stone tablets on which God had written the 10 Commandments with his own finger, as a symbol that the people had broken the covenant. He took the calf, burned it, ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the people drink it. He strongly rebuked his brother Aaron, and he challenged the people,
Whoever is on the Lord's side, come to me.
and those who persisted in rebellion died from the sword of the Levites, about 3,000 men in all. If you look closely, it's quite a controlled explosion. Sometimes, God in His mercy allows a few to die in order to save many. If sin had persisted, God wouldn't be able to take them to the promised land. Then Moses went up and pleaded for the people, "I pray, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, blot me out of your book which you have written." Do you notice? That's intercession. Putting yourself in the stead of others, praying for others, fighting for others. And that, according to verse 14, caused God to relent from the harm which He said He would do to His people. This doesn't mean that the Lord relented as if He was wrong. It means that God heard the sincere prayer of an intercessor, and out of love, He decided to extend His mercy. The most beautiful thing is that Moses was a symbol of Christ, our true intercessor, the only one who never sinned, yet He went to Calvary for those of us who did sin. Moses' intercession controlled the chastisement, but he couldn't take away sin. Christ's intercession, in contrast, cleanses us from all evil. This story teaches us three great lessons: that apostasy is a self-wound, that God's wrath is just, and that intercession is the door to forgiveness. Israel failed, but Moses interceded. And if you too had failed, I have good news for you. Someone is interceding for you. It's not Moses, it's Jesus. He broke His body instead of the stone tablets and shed His blood instead of ours. He didn't only stop the chastisement, He also bore our sins. Run to Him, for if anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous. Has this study blessed you? You can also be part of this mission to teach the Bible in a creative and transformative way. Scan the QR code on the screen and support us so that more people can learn how to study biblical prophecy. Remember, together we can grow more.